No, that's great, Avdut. Please ask questions. Okay. So next is demergers. So demerger is when one company spins off a division of its company into another company, right? Or that spin-off could then be sold separately, right? So usually it takes about 1 year from the date of announcement, as it requires several approvals. You need to get so first the board approves it, then the shareholders have to approve it, the stock exchanges have to approve it, the creditors, NCLT. It's a long drawn process. Okay. So from the time of the demerger announcement, roughly, I'll budget 1 year in your mind, right? So one company which one of my friends brought to our attention was GHCL, right? So this is a company with two separate divisions, chemicals and textiles. So before I go into GHCL, right, one other thing to bear in mind is in demergers, right, when you have two divisions, especially when they are like not related to each other, like chemicals and textiles. Um, so it is like a three-legged race, right? So where two people tie, so for example, if Ankit and I were to do a three-legged race, so my right leg and Ankit's left leg would be tied together, and then we have to run. So now, when we run, we will be slower than what each of us could individually have run, right? And that's how the market also sees a conglomerate kind of a business, right? But when both of us, when that are untied, and now both of us will get a valuation, and that will be greater than what it was earlier. So in other words, the sum of the two parts after demerger will be greater than the whole which was before the demerger. That is usually the logic here. And they think, okay, a textile company can now operate independently like a textile company. It can do whatever capital allocation decisions it needs to do. And same for the chemical division, right? One is not constrained by the other. So this company came into our attention in December 2020. And you could see that, for example, the chemicals business, even though both are commodity like, chemicals and textiles are commodity like, the chemical business was actually, had significant moats in that business, right? And it had a consistent EBITDA of somewhere in the 25 to 30% kind of a thing, okay, irrespective of the market cycle. Whereas the textiles in 2000, as of March 2020, it had an EBITDA of only say 7%, and both were commodity in nature, right? And they were going to demerge this, right? So we did some basic, I would say, really basic calculation, and it came out to something like an EV EBITDA of. So we did say so. FY20 numbers are there in the first column. And for chemicals, we assumed an EV EBITDA of 5 times, and for textiles, we assumed it to be 1 time. And this was the debt scenario at that time. And as you can see, the market cap um of the chemicals alone was significantly higher than the combined together, right? So which gave us a margin of safety of something like 38%, right?
So
Uh,
just to add on Vikas here, so just look at the EV by EBITDA assumption which Vikas has taken here. So 5 times EV by EBITDA and 1 times EV by EBITDA for chemicals and textile. So this is extremely conservative assumption. So that is how you are building in your margin of safety, right?
yeah. Thanks, Ankit. So the other thing was when you compared GHCL as a chemical company vis-a-vis something like Tata Chemicals or Bodel Chemicals, right? Other commodity. So you could see that GHCL was far better in terms of the EBITDA margin and so on. Yet it was trading at a much lesser EV EBITDA. Okay. So you could see that there is some upside that you have in this situation. right? And that is what we did. So we bought it at around 190, 200, somewhere in December 2020. And by 21, it was now at 360. Sometime in October, it had even touched 460, I think, right? So, but it has given a decent return. And so when you calculate the IRR, it's come to about 61%. Now, there has been a kahani mein twist since then, right? So last month, they announced that they are selling one part of the textile business to Indocount for about 596 crores, right? And that cash will be used for both reducing debt and growth capex. And remember, I told you demerger takes about 1 year. So we were almost going to get the NCLT approval when they sold one part of the textile business, right? So now what they're doing is they are saying that a fresh petition will now be filed uh, to demerge the spinning business from the chemicals business. And the spinning business, it'll have close to 2 lakh spindles, and if you assume 50,000 rupees per spindle replacement capacity and so on. So this is something new that I learned. So he said, we will get about 1,100 crores as the replacement value for the spinning division, right? And meanwhile, what has happened is the soda ash prices have also gone through the roof, right? And so sometime in quarter 4, I think they will start uh, writing new contracts with the new prices, soda ash prices. So the chemicals business is also likely to see a further uptick in profits, right? So even as of today, I would say that we are still invested in this, and even from this current market cap of 3,600 crores, I think there is still some upside to this story, right? So another 6 to 9 months, that spinning division could get demerged. Another example of demerger is this company called IDFC Limited. Uh, I think everybody would have heard of IDFC Limited. So it's the holding company, and it's a complicated structure that they have, right? But essentially, they have two big units. One is a mutual fund company, IDFC AMC, and the other is the bank, okay, which is the IDFC First Bank. So, holding companies or the parent company usually trade at a significant discount to their underlying value, right? So the market says that, look, if I want to buy IDFC First Bank, I will buy shares of IDFC First Bank. But if I buy shares of IDFC Limited, it becomes little complicated because IDFC First Bank's profits will now be uh, apportioned to IDFC Limited, and from IDFC Limited, there is another capital allocation decision that will have to be made, and so on and so on. So holding companies usually are more complicated, and the market, assigns a big discount to their value, right? And this is no exception. So as of now, also, so the market cap is of IDFC is 10,000 crores, whereas AMC and the bank put together it will be about 15,000 crores. So this is also another form of arbitrage only, right? So we are buying the parent company uh, as a as a way of buying the children companies, right? And so why is it different this time? What could happen, and what are the triggers? See, first of all, in the last, so we've been invested for nearly 2 years now in this company, and a lot of action has happened in the last 3 months alone. Okay, so the first and foremost was there is shareholder activism now. So the company had a call with all investors just before the AGM, sometime in September, right? And you would not believe the kind of the how senior investors joined the call, and they blasted the management for not doing this value unlocking fast enough, right? Uh, so you had very senior investors like Madhu Kela, uh, Mr. Rajiv Agarwal of Doordarshan Investors. These are some of the names that come to mind, but I recall that it was a pretty heated call, and they blasted the management for not doing enough. And pretty soon after that, you now have a new chairman of the company, and the new chairman is Mr. Anil Singhvi. He was the CFO and the CEO of I forget which cement company, right? So he has been brought in. He has a reputation of being clean and getting things done, right? So he's the new chairman. They have announced that they have appointed investment bankers for selling the AMC. The boards of IDFC and IDFC First Bank have both approved for a reverse merger, and there is also, as we speak, there is a postal ballot for simplifying the corporate structure of IDFC Limited. So you could see that
Which is
a lot of
cement you are talking about, right?
yeah, the cement company. I forget which one, Ultratech or
No, no,
no,
Digvijay Cement.
Ambuja.
He was earlier with Gujarat Ambuja and then
Gujarat.
Digvijay.
Hmm. So, so these are some of the events which have happened in the last about 3 months, and so that's why I'm kind of hopeful that this time the value unlocking will happen. Let's say within the next 1 year, and so this has been our investment in this company so far.